So, hey everybody. I haven't been on my page as late because I've been kind of busy and stuff. But I just wanted to come on here because I had a few things I needed to say. Um, I'm just going to be a little brief. But I've been watching some stuff that I thought was very interesting. I'm watching this surviving, this artist. I'm going to say allegedly some of the stuff that he's been doing. So the thing that really makes me concerned is as I'm watching this, God, it reminds me so much of what documents I read about stuff that I've experienced in my life. Not saying their situation, because their situation is completely different from when I was a kid, but I'm saying it's the fact that people, oh my God, like, you just have to be so careful. And I say this and I know this is going to sound stupid, but I'm so grateful of the mistakes that I've made in life and the things that I've learned in life. Even though it was costly, I'm glad that I know better now than how naive I was then. Because looking at stuff that I'm watching now, to me, some of the stuff that I went through seemed like baby stuff. And I'm not saying mine was like that babyish, but I can't imagine being in a situation where you have your family, you know what I'm saying? And it all made sense to me while this stuff was happening. And they wasn't getting it. I'm watching this documentary and it's called Surviving, the Artist, and part 2, and it's called episode 1, It Isn't Happening. So it's on Netflix, the surviving stuff. I don't really want to say it because I don't want it to be blocked. I can't really show it because I don't have the permission or copyright information that I can use. I mean, the thing about it is, it's shocking to me. And what's shocking to me is the fact that people don't get it. They still don't get it. You can sit there and say all day long that you understand what's going on and you still don't get it. See, it's one thing when you make one person upset and you say, I'm going to expose you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That's one person. But when you expose somebody in the industry, the thing that folk don't understand, they work for people. They ain't doing this by themselves. They're owned by people. Once they sign that contract to that label industry, whatever they do, they got to answer to them. So if they can't make money, if they can't, and it makes so much sense now why he was acquitted and why all this other stuff was, because at the end of the day, if you're not making money for them, or if you're making the most money for them, they're going to save you as much as they possibly can. Man, it is so sad that people are not really waking up and realizing that this world is really nothing to play with. My mother used to always say, everybody in this world got a game. And it's up to you to know whether or not you're going to be in that game, or if there is something, is they have a game. That's basically what she was saying. Everybody in this world has a game. And it's up to you to find out either what it is or whether or not they're going to try to use you to be in the game. And it makes so much sense. That statement makes so much sense. Every single time I hear it, every single time I listen, and I remember her telling me that every time she would always say, people got a game, Bree. People got a game. People have a game. You're not old enough, you don't understand. And I would just be asking, I'm like, man, she just tripping. She just saying stuff. But no, she was really telling the truth. And as I'm watching this, I'm like, I'm correlating situations that I've seen in my life and I've heard from other people. And I'm saying our stuff wasn't even as close to this situation. Our situation was just like small, you know, you had, you know, council people. I read the documents and everything as I got older. People got involved, like city council people, all types of people, and I never knew that it was so many people involved in certain pieces of my life. I didn't know that many people were trying to save me from the situation that I was in. Baby, this ain't even nothing compared to this stuff. Man, when I tell you, this situation is the most scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I can't even imagine. But see, the thing that people, again, don't understand is two things that I know. One thing for certain, when it comes down to upsetting people, you gotta be careful. In the world, if you upset them, you're gonna have to pay the piper one way or the other. There's always somebody that you're gonna have to answer to. In the spiritual world, we just worry about not making God upset. The thing that really doesn't make sense to me is the fact that folks still don't get about the powers that be. You got artists that are signed to labels. The labels are owned by people that are in the industry. The industry is controlled by one particular group of people that run the group. So they have their own parties and their parties and parties. And when they start realizing that they're one person that makes them a whole lot of money is not making any money, something happens. That allegedly can make anybody angry. Let's say you're a billionaire, right? You've been selling a certain type of food or something for years. Somebody finds out that the food that you've been selling hasn't been the original recipe because you took it from the original person and you stole their recipe, made it your own recipe, tweaked it a little bit, and called it your own. If that person finds the original person that had the recipe and they realize, you know what, I'm going to sue them because they not only did not have my rights to this patent, this is in my name and I was the one that wrote it. See, that's the thing that people don't get. When it comes down to music, when it comes down to any place where it's owned by people that are very, very powerful in the world, that's like the last thing you really want to upset. That's almost like going up to a wasp nest and just playing basketball with it, basically, with your life. That ain't something you want to do. But see, when you have the Holy Ghost, you don't have to worry about stuff like that. Because when you have God on the inside of you, you don't have to worry about who gonna do what. Because regardless of whatever happens in your life, he's gonna be present regardless. And he knows the amount that you can bear. So, and that's for the ones that are very spiritual, religious based, if you follow what I'm going at. But if you just in the world, it's just certain things that you really don't want to do. And I've learned that people in churches do stuff like this. People in jobs do stuff like this. People, family people, if they feel like that they have enough pull, they can do stuff like this. Bro, you have got to be careful. And they over there sitting there, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't say this. And it's like I'm watching this documentary and people are like, you have some people that said, yeah, they should mute this person. And then other people that said, you know what? But you got other people that are blaming the parents, which I can understand why, because they're saying, you know what, how could you let your child get involved in something like that? The thing that you don't understand is that parents only know as much as we tell them. They really don't. If you say, okay, mom, I'm going to the library, and then come to find out you really wasn't at the library, you were over at such and such house, they don't know because you haven't said nothing until somebody says, you know what, she really wasn't at the library, I haven't seen her in such and such time. Listen, everybody's had that moment where you've lied to your parents at least about something that you wanted to do because you thought it was fun. But doing stuff like this, where you could allegedly be in a situation, when I tell you, if I could tell you what this reminds me of without breaking down, like I can't even do it because I know I'm going to start crying. because the bigger cities, they ain't gonna be honest about the stuff that a lot of people get involved. There's a lot of stuff that you can get away with in bigger cities that you can't get away with in other cities because I mean, it's just the stuff like people know how to get towards young people. Like, I'm saying, they know how to control certain generations so quick. They know how to. If it wasn't from the Trayvon situation to the Michael Brown situation, they knew that our generation, the 90s babies, was going to be revolutionary, which, in my defense, I believe we were going to be changing some stuff because we felt like, we saw our grandparents, we heard stories of our grandparents do stuff, we heard stories of other people say stuff. We've watched our parents go through stuff. We was determined as we got older that we wasn't going to sit there and tolerate stuff. It is not only shocking, it is almost scary how quick and how close you could have your life like this to where it's almost snuffed out because you angered the wrong person. Bro, when I tell you this industry, what I'm watching right now, the fact that this industry was getting away with this doesn't surprise me at all. And I wouldn't want this. I don't care if it was dangling $5,000 or more. It's not worth not even 5 cents. If you look, this is not. It's short lived. Like, to want something so bad and somebody can really like. It's the fact that these people did not realize that they're literally. First of all, the biggest red flag, why would you let your child go and have a quote unquote interview in a hotel? Nobody interviews people in a hotel. Now, there's a few people that probably do. But you cannot tell me they was interviewing somebody. But see, this is not the only person. The thing that really makes it interesting is the fact that there's some people that are protecting him because they know something that a lot of people don't know. And I just have a theory that with this industry, if you do not comply, they have their special people that will sit there and either make an ultimatum with you. And it's so crazy because it even happens on workplaces too. It's like we have this ultimatum. You can either take this or you can take this. Take the red pill, take the blue pill. And it's crazy because you over here sitting there thinking that, oh, it's nothing serious. It's no big deal. We literally watch somebody get away with. Never in the history have I ever seen somebody get away with doing some of the stuff that I've seen in Chicago. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know much about Chicago. I don't care to know much about Chicago. Knowing that I have family in Chicago is one thing. But from the stuff that I've heard and the stuff that I've kind of witnessed a little bit being a teenager, to listening to people in my family say stuff, to listening to friends say stuff, to listening to people that I've dated say stuff. It is crazy and it is very interesting how you can sit there and be so naive. But you know what? You almost have to chuck it up to being, as a young person, you seeing stuff. And I mean, I've done stuff where I thought I was going to meet somebody. And I was like, oh, no big deal. And I was like paying money and just saying, oh, that person's going to come in town or whatever. Come to find out, never did. And it's like, you really just got to be careful. Or thinking that I was going to get, like, I'll never forget the time that I thought that I was going to get a scholarship for some money for school. And I thought it was like some type of promotion on Instagram, and come to find out it wasn't. And I ended up putting something in my account that messed it up for a long time. And I'm like, bro, this is absolutely insane. And people are like, oh, you don't say this, you don't say that. You got to find a way to be able to speak. You know what I'm saying? At some point, if you don't find a way to have somebody to talk to you and say stuff and be able to, communicate with that person and say, you know what, I'm not feeling comfortable. I'm not happy. Or I need somebody to talk to me. Or I need somebody to reason with me because I feel like I'm making a wrong decision. If you don't have people around you that's supporting you, doing stuff, it's easy to just fall into the arms of somebody. I mean, when I tell you, you gotta be so careful. Like, you can't. Oh my gosh. It is so scary because it's so easy for minorities in any racial group. It just I just well, people don't. I mean, it's just sad because you have people that are on social media that are so brainwashed and they think one way, that oh, this is the world and this is what's going on, and they really think that oh, it's no big deal, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. But in the meanwhile, nobody's being honest about the fact that you got folks literally doing this stuff to people. You could be at school and you thinking, you know what, I want to take a test and I want to pass this class, but people are really putting themselves up a position. If you really want to pass my class, you're either going to do this or do that. Like, it's beyond me. It's really sad to see people fall. This documentary, when I tell you, is so sad. I never thought that would be possible. But this situation, this episode that I'm watching right now, you guys irritated the powers that be. And the only reason why I know that is because watching stuff that I've watched over the years, I've been at watching and understanding certain industries other than just the music industry, but learning other industries and kind of how the world works um, since almost 2018, trying to understand it as an adult and grasp it without like getting nauseous about it, because it's like all in one setting. It's a lot to sit there and watch this. I remember as being as young as probably maybe 15 years old, and parents were trying to tell me, okay, maybe you need to read this book and you need to watch this movie, and this will kind of help you understand what the world is really like. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. You mean all this time this is what's going on? It's almost like when everybody was excited about Subway and that guy that lost weight, and everybody thought, oh, you can lose weight too and be just like him, and he's a sponsor, he's making a whole lot of money for the company. And then all of a sudden, well, people, I don't think anybody really remembers this because they were too young to understand, but when that allegation of him liking children came about, I'll never forget it. I was so young when it came out. I remember being in school and somebody said, you know what, this guy may be going to jail. Never did go to jail, but I know he lost sponsorship for that, because it's like it's somebody's kid. Like, you can't be serious. When I tell you, 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 this world is so freaking crazy. You can't be serious that you did not know you were messing with the powers that be, man. You cannot tell me that you did not know that these people work for people, and if they can't make the money that they're supposed to make, that they're signed by a contract, if you sell this many albums, you'll be awarded this amount of money. If you don't do that deal, man, you got to pay that stuff back. And then and it's not that doesn't include that. It doesn't include the interest that they put onto it, and it also doesn't include the fact that the ridicule. And it's almost like the stuff that they do to these people, it's almost like they're going through college hazing phases with the way they're acting. Like, if you don't do this, then this is your punishment, and you have to do this in order to get in. And it's like, of course you want to say a few things. You got one side saying time's up, and then you got the other side saying this is it. And then folks have been saying, but you got to realize there's a group of people who sold their soul, and there's a group of people that haven't sold their soul. So the thing about it is that makes it weird is, when are we gonna stop like sugarcoating stuff and just be honest with ourselves? We basically watch somebody have a whole situation like we were in a third world country, but it happened under our noses because somebody allowed it. And you mean to tell me that you are this comfortable letting somebody, but then you have to see who else is letting him? Because if he's worked with all these people, everybody's saying he's a genius, but nobody's dealing with the fact he the only black man that I know that got away with all of this, and nobody's saying anything. Either he's holding his tongue because he knows who's really doing it, or, I mean, because there's been speculations that other artists have done it, and every time when they try to speak up, those people have passed away. I find it interesting that even Jaguar Wright has mentioned stuff and ain't nothing happened to her. Like, it is to the point where people are saying so much stuff, you don't know what's real or fake. So it's like, do I believe this person? Can I trust this person? Because they seem like they're telling the truth, but at the same time, I mean, it's just sad. And to see women go through this and their parents getting ridiculed because they didn't even know what was going on. They're thinking, oh, it's okay and all this other stuff, but I'm just saying, with me, it probably would have never happened on this side of the family. And the only reason why I say that is because they read into a lot of stuff. Read into a lot of stuff, and they can tell foolishness from a mile away. You can't really fool them. But I see his perpetrators, and it's like the church, the people that don't have a lot of support, the people that get ignored. I'm there with you. I'm telling you my story just so you can understand, so you can be easy enough to understand that, hey, you have somebody too, that you can trust me too. And I'm like, oh my God, they basically allowed him to do stuff in order to, like, bro, come on. Oh my God, you can't be this dumb. And it makes so much sense, like the stuff that Leola was saying about Whitney Houston. Like, a lot of people are now coming forward with stuff that's really going on. I mean, you got Orlando Brown talking about what was going on, and when he was asked in his interview about what really happens, and he's telling people, you really don't, these people really don't need to know what happened to their family members. They really don't. And it's like, to hear people say stuff like that, and then hear people are on, this guy's side, this artist that did all these allegedly things, it is so crazy to think that not only one man, but three men have gotten away with stuff like this. And it's like, to hear the media basically mock black women, and then you got other people trying to, it's like we went from one generation of people trying to lighten their skin, now everybody's trying to deepen their skin and trying to get all these injections and stuff like that. And now it's to the point where we think folks overuse the word gaslighting, and we don't know the difference between gaslighting and lying. It's like all of these stupid podcasts, table talks, all these stupid things that people think are quote unquote normal. It's like, it's almost like they selling us a bad dream. Like, for me, it just seemed like they're telling us what we already know, but they know that, well, we can get away with it anyway because you don't know what we really do on closed doors. And you see these people every day on television doing whatever they want to do, saying whatever they want to say. And you mean to tell me, it's just sad. That's all I gotta say. It's very sad. It's not only sad, it's disheartening because I've went through people, using my number, hacking my accounts and stuff like that, making multiple accounts, and I've had to go to old accounts and log into them and say, don't use the previous account that I was using because of the fact that that account was hacked, and it's just so much stuff. And it's so freaking sad to see people who didn't know any better that fell for it, or the people that did know better. And it's like, people were even saying that their fans were sending money to bail this guy out of jail. Like, it's to the point where, when do we stop putting these people on pedestals and understand we do not worship people, we worship only one person? And he's not even a person. Like, it's almost like people are convinced that it is normal to do all this other stuff. It's like, it's one thing to be a fan, and it's one thing, oh, say this and that and the third, but you could really these people could really ruin your life if they wanted to. That's the phrase where everybody's got a game. Like, you can't negate this stuff, man. You can't pretend like this stuff ain't happening. You have to be careful. And to see people not paying attention, and they just like, oh, woe is me, all this other stuff, and then they're saying, well, and you got people in this documentary talking about, well, how come the parents didn't do nothing, and a woman sitting there saying it's easy to blame the parents, but it's like, you got two sides to the story and the truth. And my thing is, everybody's wrong. The parents were wrong, he was wrong, people who should have been paying attention to the signs were all wrong, because if you know something is dangerous, you're not going to sit there and put your hand over a fire you know is hot. So why would you easily walk yourself into a room full of wolves who could potentially mess you up to the point where you don't have any value, where they feel like, I mean, it's common sense. I mean, it was done in biblical times. I'm just saying, like, people, oh my God, don't listen. They don't listen to reason. It's like they see these people and they look at them and they're like, and I can't say nothing because I've had experiences where I thought that I was talking to the real person online, and come to find out it wasn't that real person. So you just have to be very, very careful what you do, almost, because people can easily con you into doing something. You don't know that. I mean, this was basically trafficking, but allegedly legal because nobody was really. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, I'm not trying to put anybody's name in this, but it's just really sad because you can see them and it's almost like it's a game to them. This is just something that it's like a fad. It's like, no, we really need to take this stuff serious. But it's like almost anything sells. We need money so bad that we're willing to sell anything. That's why I know these are the last days, because you cannot tell me you got folks in church selling stuff. You got folks trying to now denounce Jesus. You got folks doing all sorts of stuff, and you mean to tell me that that's not waking you up? But I mean, it did say in the Bible that it was going to happen this way, but worse. But my thing is, like, how worse is it going to be? Because it's like, if you doing this and this is just a documentary, this is just a documentary. What really happens behind closed doors, nobody will ever know. And that's what makes it scary, because anything goes now. And that's all I had to say. Y'all be careful out there. Just be careful, because we just living in a very, very wicked world. You just can't be naive, and I've learned my lesson dealing with really crazy people in my life. So all I gotta say is, this has been another episode of SMS News Channel. I'll be back with more when I'm not busy with school and work and all this other stuff. But I had to make a video about this because, guys, it was necessary. So you guys have a good night and a happy new year. And let's hope that the rest of 2023 will be smoother than the other years. And you guys have a good night.